Hello, and welcome to this special edition of On the Couch. Why special, I hear you ask? Well, for a start, it isn't on a couch, it's on 3 plastic chairs, a beatbox and a speaker cab. But more importantly, the band that are guests on this edition are a band that I've been listening to for almost 30 years. A band that still have a loyal following, both here in the UK and across the Atlantic in the United States. And that's despite the fact that they only ever released one album and drifted apart over 20 years ago. And for me personally, it's special because this band also features my soon-to-be co-host on this very channel. I first met these guys back in the late 80s, early 90s, it's a long time ago, when I was commissioned to produce their first video for a song called Only Dreaming. At that time the band were called The Cutters, and you could tell even back then that these guys were a bit special. I instantly became a fan, and I'm happy to say we all became firm friends. After a few personnel changes, the band finally settled on a permanent lineup and changed their name to Treehouse. The next few years saw them sign a major record deal, move across to the United States, release their debut album, and then tour extensively across America and in Europe too. But that was all back then. The guys have not played together since. In fact, they've not even been in the same room together for over 20 years. Until now. Recently, after lots of long phone calls and heavy persuasion, we managed to convince the four of them to get back together for a catch-up and a trip down memory lane. And this is how it went. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this, coming together. It's been a long time. How long has it been since you all sat in a room together?
Oh, 23?
23 years, is it?
Something like that.
That's a long time.
20,
Yeah.
22, yeah.
Do you remember the last time?
Cranberries.
Yeah, the last gig was the Cranberries, which was at the Apollo in Manchester. Snowy December in Manchester, remember it well.
Fantastic. And so you're obviously all doing very different things now. What are you all doing? Abe?
I direct TV stuff, so I'm a director of TV and make short films.
Pete, you're...
Still, doing the music, solo, acoustic, albums and touring. Still doing stuff with Edwin McCain in the States, which is great. Just still playing.
Keith, you still play, don't you?
Yeah, I still play. I went back to me one of my old loves, which was classical playing. When these two guys, I don't know if you remember this, but when you very first come round to my flat years ago, I actually went into Rushworth's a long time ago and seeing these guys' ads on their notice board and ripped it off. I thought, no one else is seeing that. Put it in my pocket. A week later, after it had been washed in my jeans, my wife's like, what is this? Someone's number. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Phone them up. You guys come round. If you remember, I had a nylon classical guitar with a capo on the second fret. I remember you going, oh, one of our songs, and we sat there and had a great little jam.
Oh, fantastic.
And in my flat, that was the first time I met you guys.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm basically holding the job down, but still playing a lot. Play with the Liverpool Guitar Society now and again.
Very high brass. And Paul, you've escaped.
Yeah, moved over to the Isle of Man 20 years ago. So I've been living in the Isle of Man for the last 20 years. Got working over there, got a new life over there, and still playing, still working hard, and music is still always going to be my first love, always will be till I take my last breath, and these guys are my first love as well, so I'm just so happy to be here today with these boys again.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. So
very different things you're doing now. The touring days seem such a long time ago and a long way back. Do you miss them?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
You sure you don't want to think about that?
No. It was. We had no money. We basically did it because we loved it, and there's something you get with only certain bands, I find, and it's that moment where you just go, wow, this is amazing. This is I'm not going to let go of this. I'm going to keep hold of this, and we toured for like a year and a half, whatever it was, and we just we worked our butts off, but what a band!
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, we were just. We used to go on stage and blow people away, and the Vertical Horizon. Do you remember when we walked backstage and they were having an argument, going, "How do we follow that?"
I think as well we were. I think because we really put the hours in rehearsal, and I think when you get to the point, it's almost like an old pair of slippers. You don't have to. It just it's like a Formula One car.
Yeah.
When it's right.
When
it's almost like you just don't even have to think about it. And like Abe quite rightly says, you go on and you're playing, and you're not really thinking about playing at that point, because you sort of know it.
Yeah.
Inside out.
So well oiled, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, remember Dan coming back to the UK, didn't he? And then he come back after about a month or so, and he was like, "Wow, you guys are tight."
Yeah.
Because we've been playing that
We were
regularly.
gigging 6 nights a week.
And we were so, I'm not just saying it, but we were so tight at one point. We were just so good,
Yeah.
Great live band.
I think, as you said, that came with playing 6 shows a week, and it wasn't, for a month or so. It was year in, year out.
And the great thing is that we were really tight, man. We were close, and we were always with each other, and no one tried to kill anyone. We did. We all got on well, and we all had a really
amazing,
good
though, isn't
crack.
it?
It is.
Did you think
That's
that
quite rare, really.
we were either in rooms together, or
We
we
were in
shared
each
a band
other's pockets
together?
for a good 2 years, weren't we?
And we didn't fight. Because I think we just all. We just had that. It was there.
Yeah, just
And I
locked
think
together as
that's
one.
so important.
Don't-
And I think there was only us. I think the fact that we weren't in this country, we were in another country, so we had to rely on each other.
Yeah,
So we had to make this a family.
Yeah.
We didn't go home at the weekends and see our missuses and our girlfriends and all that. It was like, no, you fucking stuck with us. This is it.
That's away.
This is it.
Yeah.
We got to get on.
Yeah.
And you did.
And I think that was kind of a part of the success as well, where no one kind of got in. We were very kind of choosy who we let into the circle. Obviously we had Nick Cassato, we've just been talking about earlier on, Ian Edwards, and obviously our manager Dan, John, JC, the guy from the label. And that was kind of it, really. It was kind of us against the world, really. And I think every time we went on stage, especially in America, when we were touring in America for a couple of years, we sort of felt like we were flying the flag a little bit. It was like we had a point to prove, not just to ourselves. I think it was to let people. It's funny. I think at that time there was a lot of. I mean, I'm going to sound. I don't know how to say this, but there's a lot of English bands going over to America during that period. A lot of indie bands that were not that great, and they were getting raved about. And I remember the first show we opened for Edwin McCain, and it was Dave Harrison. I think he was standing side stage. Because I think they expected like a sort of, a Brit pop indie band, which, that's all cool, but we weren't that.
Yeah.
We were more of a sort of hybrid of English sort of and American. We had that sort of transatlantic sound as well. And I think Dave said, you've got to Edwin, you're going to have to come and check these dudes out, man. They're really, really good. And since, then Edwin told me that he stood side stage and he was like, wow, these can really play, and we've got to go on after them. So it was the biggest compliment really to ever pay, because those guys are all top elite session guys. So for them to, it was like a little top of the cap to us to say, hey, you guys are good.
Wow.
And it was nice. It was a nice thing.
So 2 years ish touring the United States. There's got to have been some serious highlights. What were the bits you remember most? The moments.
Shooting the video, I think, was one of the highlights. I think that was a great time shooting the video. There was kind of an expectation, a real expectation of that. For me, anyway, there was. It was like we're going in the right way. I think things are happening. The right people are on board. And I think it turned out to be a good video. That.
Yeah, it was good.
Looking back in hindsight, it's a cracking little video. Quite proud of that one.
There's two. I think there was gigs wise. There was just so many great gigs. We were lucky. We got to tour. With some. I mean, obviously we did the Hootie and the Blowfish European tour. We toured with them, and we done all the English shows, and they were. I think that for me, the hometown gig in the Royal Court, even though we played some amazing gigs in the States, the hometown gig in the Royal Court was special. First time our families got to sort of see us after we'd been touring for a year or so and playing every night, so that was a special gig for me. I mean, the American gigs, there was so many. We toured with Cowboy Mouth, we toured with Edwin McCain, as we said, Hootie and the Blowfish. We got to play with some Holbecks. There's some really big southern bands that we got the opportunity to go out and play with, which again, it helped us hone, because the bar is set so high in America. When with musicians and songwriters, that you kind of, you think you're really good, and then you get over there and you go,
so many great players.
Yeah. You could finish a gig. I mean, we'd often finish a gig and we'd go in the bar next door, and the guy in the bar next door would be like as good as James Taylor. And you're like, okay, we're in America. It just doesn't happen back home. So it was an education, really. It was like going to school. It was like,
So we talked about the songs, and I believe you're going to try and recreate one of them for us today.
Well, it could go horribly wrong. We haven't played together, according to Keith, for 23 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Loneliness will fall, the shadows over me, the pictures on the wall will be the last things that I see. 'Cause when I leave the room, I believe in me. 'Cause when I'm falling into you, I'm falling into me. It's the light that falls a million places at once, and I could never belong to no one.
So we've talked about the highlights. There's got to have been some lows as well. It can't have all been rosy. What were the low points?
I think the low points were just, you know, the typical things like, you know, you're missing your family. Because Keith has a young son then, and Pete Jr. was just, you know, he was a baby then too. So that was always difficult, you know, getting on a plane, and because we never, you know, I don't think we ever did anything less than a couple of months. It was a couple of months at a time. So that was the hard part for me. But the gigs wise, I mean we obviously played some gigs that went great, you know. But I think I tend to sort of forget about them and think about the good ones.
I think
you know?
the low points kind of pale into comparison, you know, with the rest of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's only
it was the business. The business for me
yeah.
was the bit that made me sad. It was just when people used to be like, "Yeah, I'm going to do so much for you guys."
I do remember.
And then
I mean,
they
you
didn't,
had a lot.
and you were like,
You had a lot
"We're
on your
slugging our
shoulders at
guts
the
off
time,
here." And you promised me to do this. You promised that you would get us on a radio show, or you would do this or do that, and it didn't happen. And I think that was the moment when I personally realised that the music business, it was becoming about the business more than it was becoming about the music. And I thought that we were doing our part of the deal. We were going out every night. We were, you know, we go to a town and do a radio show off our own bats. We were selling more CDs than anyone that was on Atlantic, just because we were just like we were doing our bit, and people in offices were just going, nah, you know.
I think you know. I think like Abe said, then the music business, it's sort of a, you know, it's an oil and water thing, isn't it? Music and business don't really kind of,
no,
you know. But I mean, I think as well, like Keith said, I think the positives, well for me, outweigh the negative stuff. Because I mean, you know, let's
that's
face
the bit
it.
you remember.
I mean, I do. I don't know if it's kind of, you know, but I just think we were really lucky. I mean, how lucky were we to travel around America for 2 years, sign to Atlantic, and play all these cool places and meet all these cool people. You know, some amazing people that are lifelong friends now. You know, it was a trip, man.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, when you think about it, we're just, you know, we were 4 scuffs from Liverpool.